Hello YouTube! So last time we worked on the gauge and the Ember bore. This time I'd like to work on the Ember Activator, but before we do that, I had to make a little bit of change with the Ember bore. I've moved it a little bit. In 110.2, the Ember bore can only mine so much from each chunk before it gets exhausted. In 111.2, I believe they changed that, so you don't have to move it around anymore, but I had to move it. So let's go ahead and check out what I've done. I moved it from here. I put in a little mat of receivers so I can just come back here whenever I need to. I also want to change one more thing. Last time we used extra utilities pipes, but it seems only appropriate that we use the pipes from this mod. This mod actually has some pretty cool pipes. It has the item pump, which is made from an item pipe, Caminite plate, and redstone. The Caminite plate is made from raw Caminite, which is that Caminite blend we made last time. And then the pipes themselves are made from a lead plate and lead ingots. And we made plates last time too. So I have some pipes here. What you do is you put the item pump on the location you want to pump from. So in this case, the mechanical user. And you put the pipes to the place you want it to end up at. So now this will pump into there. One last thing we need to do though is you do need a lever for the pump itself. So if we just put a lever on there, and then turn that on, we should see, eventually, some embers going in there. There's a lot of other stuff from other quarries and things, because this is our main chest. But if we give it long enough, there we go. There's an ember crystal. Just went in there, a nice big one. And we'll just leave this here until it exhausts the ember crystals in this chunk, and then we'll just move it to another chunk. And of course, in 111.2, if we ever update that, we won't have to move it anymore, which will be absolutely fantastic. For now, let's go ahead and make the Ember Activator. So we're back here in our workroom. Let's take a look at the Ember Activator. This is what melts down the Ember crystals and Ember shards into the power source that this mod uses. It's pretty simple. It's just a furnace, some iron plates, and some copper. Alright, so we're going to go set this up in the room that I have prepared for Embers. It's not very pretty yet. It's just a bunch of cobblestone, but I will be replacing this all with some blocks that look a lot better. But for now, this was the room I had set aside for Embers, so I'm just going to set this up any old place. Okay, so as you can see here, I've put down the Ember Activator, and I've put down another item pump and an item pipe leading from this chest. We're just going to use this chest for now, but eventually I'm going to have it set up so it pulls right from the system. And we'll put the crystals we have in here. So you pipe things into the bottom, and you pump embers out from the top. So the machines that need embers will just pipe it out to the different machines that need it. And we just need a lever here. Just turn this on. And you can see it's working pretty quickly because it fills up with molten ember crystals, basically. Now, what we need this for is several of the machines in the mod need embers to work. And the one that we want is the melter to start with. That's this one here. So let's go back to the workroom and do that. Okay, so we got everything we need. We got the furnace and the Caminite bricks and the plate, and the copper ingots and the iron. One other thing we're going to need is some Ember Emitters. These are basically like pipes for Ember that let you take Ember from one machine to another machine. So in this case, from the melter, or to the melter from the Activator. These are super cheap to make. They're just a Caminite plate, some copper, and some iron. We're also going to need a receiver. You put the receiver on the machine that you want to receive the Ember at. Okay, so I've got my melter set up here next to the Activator. I also made these gauges. It tells you how much Ember is in the Ember Activator. And over here it tells you how much Ember is in the melter. The melter doesn't have any Embers right now. Also, I made an item gauge. The item gauge tells you how much items are in here. So we can look those here. The Ember gauge is pretty simple. It's just a compass, some paper, and copper ingot. The item gauge is the same except for its lead ingot. So now the Ember Emitter and the Ember Receiver. We're going to put the emitter on the top part. as well as the receiver. And we need to link these together with this Ember Tinker's Hammer. So that's just some iron and some lead and some sticks. Really simple to make. So we start off by shift right clicking on the receiver, and then just right clicking on the emitter. And you get those two different sounds. You start with the one you want to receive at, and then you go to the emitter. It needs one other thing, just like the item pumps, it needs a lever. And there you go. It's starting to fill up with embers. Okay, or it would be filling up ember if I had it in the right spot. So the receiver needs to be on the bottom. Okay, so we've got ember going in from the top of the Ember Activator into the bottom of the melter, and you can see the embers are going up and being used as it's trying to melt. We're melting down some gold. We also need to melt down some copper. What we're trying to make is dawnstone. So dawnstone is made from molten dawnstone in a stamper using the mixer. So this is a alloying type machine in this mod. It melts gold and copper, looks like even amounts of both, to get molten dawnstone. And dawnstone is going to be useful for a lot of other things in the mods, like the weapons and some other useful items. You can see it just slowly going through that gold. We'll come back in a bit and find something to do with this gold. Alright, now that we've got some gold melted up, we've got about 4,000 millibuckets here. What I want to do is put it in a storage tank, kind of like the one I've set up over here. So this is the reservoir with some caminite rings on top, which makes a multi-block structure that can store liquids. You take this reservoir here, you place it down, and then you put some caminite rings on top of it. And they just continue to stack up and up to make a bigger structure. If you look here, it says it stores about 80,000 millibuckets. Alright, as you can see here with the liquid gauge, we've got some gold coming in. It's still being melted up here in this melter. Got about 14 left. You can see the ember at the bottom. If you look in the top, you can see the liquid inside, which actually doesn't hurt you. It's just visual representation. The caminite ring is made with 6 caminite brick walls, 2 caminite bricks, and the brick walls are just brick blocks in a wall shape. I will caution that this version of Embers seems to be a little on the buggy side. These gauges are not always accurate, for one thing. It only says like 4,000 millibuckets there, but there's actually 9,216. Okay, so we have copper feeding in from the right here, and gold from the left. They're both feeding the bottom of this mixer centrifuge. The mixer centrifuge is what's going to make the dawnstone. You can see the recipe for the mixer centrifuge right here. It's just some iron plates, copper ingot, another one of those mechanical cores, and some iron ingots. You can feed into all 4 sides at the bottom, and it makes the material at the top. So you can see at the top here, it's making molten dawnstone. And the ember is fed in through the top. Okay, well it looks like that's going to do it for today. We've looked at the Ember Activator, the mixer, the reservoir, and the mixer centrifuge. Next time we're going to look at some of the stuff we can do with dawnstone, and I hope you'll join me. See you next time!